This week on ANN, urban evangelism in Angola.
An Adventist Hospital in Germany offers hope to victims of FGM.
And recognizing church growth in Nepal.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, more than 50,000 small groups have been meeting in homes across Luanda to study the Bible since February. Now, Adventists in Angola are hoping these friends and neighbors will choose to join the Adventist Church during citywide evangelism meetings this week. Called Luanda for Christ, the meetings are part of the church's mission to the city's outreach efforts in southern Africa. Joint Sabbath worship services are planned for September 21 at the Citadella Stadium, where two local soccer teams agreed to switch their match from Saturday to Friday so Adventists could use the facility. The church gained recognition in Angola for providing health, education, and community outreach in a country that saw much of its infrastructure demolished during decades of civil war. As the country continues to rebuild, the Adventist Church, too, is focusing on infrastructure. With supporting ministry Maranatha, the church there is building 8 new churches in Luanda to accommodate newly baptized members.
An Adventist Hospital in Germany has opened Europe's first holistic center to help restore victims of female genital mutilation. FGM is a cultural practice in parts of Africa and Asia that often result in infection, scarring, chronic pain, and infertility. The new Desert Flower Center at the Krankenhaus Waldfriede in Berlin will offer counseling for victims and surgery to repair damage caused by FGM. The Adventist Hospital opened the center in cooperation with the Desert Flower Foundation. Based in Vienna, the foundation was launched in 2002 by Waris Dirie. The Somali model underwent FGM at age 5 and now serves as an international activist and United Nations representative against the ritual. Other FGM victims attended the ceremony, including 2 women who are expected to become the center's first patients. Hospital officials say the center will likely serve up to 100 women and girls per year.
Adventist leaders recognized church growth in Nepal this month when they officially changed the country's administrative status from attached field to mission. The move recognizes the church's development in the region. There were only about 200 Adventists in Nepal 2 decades ago. Today, nearly 8,600 Adventists worship in the Central Asian country. The new Nepal section has already elected local administrators, including a president.
3 Adventists died and 13 more were hospitalized in the U.S. state of Florida last week after the van they were riding in crashed. The Florida Highway Patrol said the accident occurred when one of the van's tires exploded, causing the vehicle to flip several times. The Maranatha French Seventh-day Adventist Church operated the van, which was en route to a Haitian Adventist conference in Tampa. Church officials in Florida released a statement shortly after the accident, expressing their sympathy and offering their continued prayers.
An atheist scientist is confronted by a completely different worldview in a new book published by the Adventist Church in Brazil. The Discovery addresses complex issues such as the origin of evil and the existence of God through dialogue. Publishers say the book will resonate with Christians and skeptics alike as it makes the case for a creator God. Novo Tempo Media Center sat down with the authors for this report.
Out of all the books they wrote, they consider this one a special one. Writers Michelson Borges and Dennis Cruz co-wrote a book called The Discovery. Released by the Seventh-day Adventist Publishing House in Brazil, the book talks about creationism. It is written in a way that appeals to many audiences, regardless of belief. And this was the approach the authors used to attract the public to a complex scientific topic. But this book is slightly different.
Our mission was to use this medium, a story with characters, dialogue, and drama, to show a message that teaches us and instructs us. So we chose literature to talk about theism, creationism, philosophy, and other scientific topics. We thought maybe our target audience wouldn't necessarily read an academic textbook, so we wrote a book in a different way that would get people reading.
What was it like writing The Discovery together?
The Discovery was almost like a gift that Michelson gave me. The story has a lot of angles. It tells the story of a divorced couple with a child who are struggling. He introduced me to the characters and asked me, "What could we do with this?" And I said, "There's a lot we can do." While working on the first chapter, I asked, "How much creative liberty do I have?" And he said, "As much as you want." So from there, we discussed a lot and started writing. Our main topics were creationism, atheism, and evolution, and our job was to weave all those deep scientific themes into the narrative. All of the philosophical and scientific debates you read in the book are based on my personal experience. Throughout the years, I've worked with atheists, agnostics, and such, so these discussions are very real. The story and the characters are fictional, but the situations and topics are all based on true events.
And finally, in the news this week, graduates from the Adventist Church's Northern Caribbean University have developed Jamaica's first smartphone app globally approved for the Microsoft Windows Phone App Store. The app, called Grickly, replaces the need to carry business cards or maintain digital address books. Grickly helps users remember who they've met and where the meeting took place. Developers say an app for Android and Apple is coming soon.
Coming up, a preview of the current issue of Liberty Magazine.
All day long, I solve problems. It's nuts and bolts and grease. And I love it. But at the end of the day, I think about the world's problems. I wonder why we're all here and how it will end. And I found something that makes sense of it all. Takes the nuts and bolts of history and paints a bigger picture. Now, I have hope.
Welcome back. The Muslim minority in Myanmar is facing increased religious oppression in the Southeast Asian country. As Lincoln Steed explains in this month's feature of Liberty Magazine, the situation is drawing international attention.
A few years ago, I was in Myanmar during their Independence Day celebrations, and I noticed that just around the corner from the church headquarters, the Seventh Adventist Church headquarters, there was a large detachment of soldiers with tanks and other vehicles, and they looked like they meant business. It turned out they were not protecting the headquarters, they were watching for signs of dissidence and some attack against the government. That's how you're seen in a repressive government when you're a religious minority. Of late, there's news coming out of that country that another religious minority, the Rohingyas, a Muslim minority in an overwhelmingly Buddhist country, are being harassed as never before. They've always been on the margins. Their citizenship has been deprived. They're denied education. Only about 1% of them are literate. Now they're coming under fierce attack. Many of them have been killed. Several 100,000 of them have been detained in camps, prison camps, and now the world is watching, because this is not just a conflict within a country of one peoples against another. This is a sign of direct religious oppression. And on those camps where those people were detained, Buddhist monks were sitting outside the camp denying access of food to those detainees. Liberty Magazine is featuring this in an upcoming issue, July-August of 2013, and we want our members and those in the general community to know the price of religious difference in a country like Myanmar.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency is helping families worldwide get through what humanitarians call the hunger season. For a farmer in Madagascar, that means learning to farm sustainably. Jonathan Duffy explains.
Today in the world, there are 870 million starving people. In Africa, we often talk about the hunger season. That is the period of time between when they've consumed the crops that they've been able to plant during the rainy season and when they wait for it to rain so that they can plant more crops. Augustine is a farmer in Madagascar. He has a small rice plantation. He was able to grow enough rice to meet the needs for his family, but not in a sustainable year for the year around. So they faced the hunger season every year. He heard about a program which ADRA was running to train farmers in new techniques. He attended that program, and as a result of that program, he was the first in his area to experiment with these new agricultural techniques. What he found is that he was able to significantly increase the yield of his crop. He was able to increase the yield to a point that he was able to provide food in a sustainable way for his family the whole year round, plus he is able to sell some of the excess crop to be able to provide essential needs for his family and buy other things to make his family's life more comfortable and more sustainable. The success of Augustine became known throughout the district, and now he is a lead farmer in his area. He is training other farmers in these new techniques and helping other families to find food in a sustainable way, which shortens and perhaps even eliminates the hunger period. Thanks to your support, we've been able to bring food in a much more sustainable way to many countries around the world. I thank you for your prayers and your support.
We have another installment this week of our ongoing series on the history and development of the Adventist Church. Danya Aragon reports.
When they formed the General Conference in May of 1863, now exactly 150 years ago, they concluded that while they would have a president, he would have only a one-year term. They would have a strong committee, and the church would really effectively be run by committees rather than individuals. They believed that power distributed in the group was safer for God's people. And there's good reason for that. Today, when you walk in the General Conference building, I often take visitors down to the main floor and look up at the atrium, they call it. And I say, what is the most prominent architectural feature you see in this building? And they say, committee rooms. And I say, precisely.
É difícil a gente ter um só modelo, mas nós fomos uma fusão, praticamente, entre o modelo metodista, de ter uma associação geral, e também presbiteriano, um pouco, e houve essa, eu creio que uma convergência de diferentes modelos, e foi mais uma decisão pragmática, e não tão teórica. Agora nós vamos estudar os modelos organizacionais existentes e vamos optar por um. Eu acho que foi mais uma questão, nós precisamos de alguma coisa que nos integre, que nos mantenha juntos, e vamos fazer dessa maneira. Então houve essa fusão de diferentes modelos, com pastores itinerantes, uma característica do metodismo. Depois você tem essa questão de eliminado o rol de membros da igreja, ou seja, manter um registro, uma coisa mais séria nesse sentido, e você tem as associações e essa integração geral. Então é um modelo, eu creio que fusão de vários e que se tornou singular para nós. Não tem outra igreja igual.
Adventism is, I would say, virtually unique. There may be one or two others like it, but it is virtually unique among major world faiths for its unified structure worldwide. Most other Christian faiths have adopted very regional systems in which the church in one country or the church in one region is largely autonomous. It may have friendly relationships with the church in another country. They may federate on certain things, but they run their own life internally. Adventism said from the first that because the truth of Scripture calls for one body, that worldwide expression of the faith that grew up from Scripture needed to be connected in a unique way.
And I think the Seventh-day Adventist Church's structure globally is the envy of many other churches. I mean, there are ministers of other churches, for example, our tithing system and our sharing of resources, who've said to me when I was president many times, I wish our church had a system like yours, where we share resources and where our members are much more involved financially in the life of the church. We do this globally. And that is made possible because of the fact that we have both the conviction that this is God's plan, but the fact that we are a global organization that holds together.
Every year, the General Conference delegates meet at 2 different times. These delegates, representing each of the Church's 13 world divisions, gather to discuss church policies, listen to reports, and vote on different matters. Most of their time is spent on committees, sharing their opinions and voting on decisions that will affect not only their division, but the world church.
That is the heart of the Seventh-day Adventist understanding of governance.
Adventists are joining other human rights activists worldwide to call for the immediate release of an American pastor imprisoned in Iran for his faith. Dwayne Leslie has this report.
It was recently reported that an appeals court in Iran rejected the appeal of 33-year-old American pastor Saeed Abedani, a U.S. citizen, and refused to reduce his 8-year prison sentence. As previously reported here on ANN, Abedani was detained and jailed in September 2012 during a visit to Iran, where he had been working on building an orphanage. His only crime? Converting to Christianity, which the judge in his case viewed as a threat to Iran's national security. Since his imprisonment in the notoriously harsh Evin prison, Pastor Abedani has reportedly been subject to beatings and psychological abuse, all because he refuses to deny his Christian faith. Abedani's plight has been the subject of considerable international interest, and there have been a series of efforts to free him by governments of various countries. His wife, Nagma Abedani, spoke before the United Nations Human Rights Council on June 5, calling on world leaders to demand her husband's release, and nearly 620,000 people from around the world have signed petitions on his behalf. At the end of August, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry renewed his involvement in this case and issued a formal statement asking Iran to allow Abedani to return to his family. While his family considers its remaining legal options, efforts are underway to plan prayer vigils in the United States and around the world on September 26, a united effort to call attention to Abedani's situation and give individuals an opportunity to advocate for his release. The International Religious Liberty Association joins in calling for the immediate release of Saeed Abedani, along with other individuals like Sajjad Masih in Pakistan and Pastor Antonio Montero in Togo, who are also currently detained in prison. For the latest updates on these and other cases impacting international religious freedom, please go to irla.org or follow us on Twitter at IRLA_USA.
Still ahead, guidelines for online safety.
But up next, a growing focus on young adult ministry.
Suddenly, there was a great level of peace in the land, so to speak. I mean, people felt a sense of relief and awe that this had actually happened and nobody believed it. And I know that this would never have happened if I decided to not pray. My name is John, and my prayer was answered.
It's the all-new, updated In Prayer app, reminding you to pray at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Prayer requests and stories, the daily devotional, all the latest videos, and social media integration through Facebook and Twitter, plus many more features. Now available free for iPhone, iPad, and Android.
I pray for wisdom from God to do really good in school and to do really good in piano and my piano lessons. I pray that all the people that are sick can become well, and whoever needs food should get food and be happy. Please pray 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, and 7 days a week.
Welcome back. Youth leaders at the Adventist World Church headquarters are prioritizing ministry to young adults. Gilbert Kanji explains.
2013 has already been a very heavy year in terms of youth ministry events. We had the launch of the 1 year in mission in New York at the beginning of the year. We set up the Global Youth Day. We had the Global Unity Summit. And of course, We just completed Impact South Africa, which brought together 3,000 young people from 97 countries from around the world. You will notice that these 4 events actually targeted or were focused to young adults or senior youth or youth. These have to be redefined. What I mean by that is when we come to the junior youth ministry of our church, I mean the adventurers, the pathfinders, we're really set up. We have a good structure. But once we go beyond that, ministry to young adults or to youth or senior youth is rather loose. We want you to know that at the General Conference, we are really addressing that and becoming very intentional in our ministry to youth or young adults. You might be familiar with the Ambassador Program, which had not been resourced. We just want you to know that we have completed the resourcing of the 7th foundation of the ambassadors, which ministers to young people from 16 to 21. And we have also just released the new Senior Youth Manual that targets the 21 plus. So keep an eye open on our website and we will send correspondence around. But there is a new focus on senior youth ministry to minister more effectively to that age group. Thank you.
Compact microphone kits allow you to capture, edit, and share professional audio files straight from your smartphone. Daryl Gungadu previews a great option on this week's Tech Corner.
When you want to capture audio or record an interview, in the industry there are some pretty good devices out there to do that, namely the Nagra SD, the Marantz PMD 661, or even the Zoom H4. However, in some cases you don't want to carry so much gear with you, and well, most people already have a phone in their hands, and there are 2 devices that will allow you to record professional audio straight from your phone. Yamaha and Rode makes a device that allows you to record in stereo. As a matter of fact, you can go all the way up to 24-bit 96 kilohertz. That's like more than 4 times the quality of a regular CD. You're able to do an interview. For both of these devices, the microphone is set, or the 2 microphones are set, so you can carry an interview with facing another person, and each mic will pick up just one side of that interview, so you can later on edit those separately. Currently, the Rode iXY works for iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, and they will soon release an Android version of that microphone. Now, the app that I'm holding here allows you to record the audio, but also to edit, format, apply effects, and upload directly as an email, as a Dropbox file, or as an FTP to your main office. Now, naturally, as you record, make sure to switch it into airplane mode.
And now, on to our regular feature from Adventist Risk Management. This month, Karina Franca explains how young people can protect themselves from cybercrime and online bullying.
Knowledge is power, so it's very important to keep personal information safe in the cyber world. Young people tend to be both confident and trusting. These are good qualities, but because of their trusting nature, cybercriminals and cyberbullies can take advantage of these individuals. Remember, you never know who may be monitoring your activities and personal information when you are using the internet. Always follow these safe online guidelines. 1. Never disclose your personal information online. 2. Images posted online are there forever. 3. Only add as friends persons you know in real life. 4. Never meet anyone in person from your online community without your parents' knowledge and permission. 5. Restrict your profile settings to individuals you know or those that are on your contact list. 6. Report inappropriate online activity to your parents or law enforcement agencies. Cyberbullying is also very common and can never be done anonymously. It can lead to emotional or physical harm to other person or friend. Today's cyberbullying may become tomorrow's cyber victim. Cyberbullying can lead to criminal conviction that could impact you for the rest of your life. Make sure you report inappropriate cyberbullying activity to your parents or school faculty. Think before you act and be safe online. For these and other simple solutions, visit AdventistRisk.org.
Adventist World Church President Ted Wilson is inviting viewers to accept God's many gifts. This week's gift is God's law.
Another great gift from God is His law. Jesus said that man must live by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And the psalmist declares, "Oh, how I love your law. It is my meditation all the day." In God's law, the first 4 commandments tell us how to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the last 6 tell us how to love our neighbors as ourselves. The law of God is what instructs us about sin and our need for a Savior. Obedience to His law develops our Christian character by demonstrating Christ's power to transform our very lives into His likeness. I hope you will accept the wonderful gift of God's law and let His power order your steps as you walk toward heaven.
Now let's turn to Benjamin Baker for a look at Adventist history. This week, a milestone for African Americans and women in North America.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On September 16 in 2009, Dr. Heather Knight became the president of Pacific Union College, making her both the first person of color and the first woman to hold the office. She is also the only African American woman president of a Seventh-day Adventist college in North America. The next day in 2011, John Carter and his team baptized 524 people in the Solomon Islands, the largest Adventist baptism in the country. On September 20, 1880, Christopher Robinson was born in Haversham, England. Robinson and his wife, Tertia Page, were pioneer medical missionaries in numerous parts of Africa, including western Zambia, Malawi, Congo, and Zimbabwe. Between the two of them, they served for almost 100 years. Finally, during this week in 1957, Sung Hun Choi began his ministry for those with leprosy. The 41-year-old minister was pastoring a church in Hadong, South Korea, when he met a group afflicted with the disease near his home. At first afraid that he might be infected, after they invited him to supper, the compassion of Christ overwhelmed Choi. The result was a 40-year ministry throughout Korea to the marginalized population. After all these years, he is still spoken of fondly as the Saint of Lepers. And that was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching, ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, find us on Facebook. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and find links to more stories, photos, and videos. Just visit Facebook/Adventist News.
Our good news for this week comes from the New Testament book of Matthew. The passage says, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.